Wow, 43 people. That's it. Probably 100 or so.
We'll give it another minute for people to show up here. Have a good crowd already, but we'll give it another minute. Get started about 6:04.
Unmute. There you go. Can you hear it? Let me see this thing. And that one, they're not doing it yet. I don't know.
Sometimes the principal.
I think we want to be mute so he can't listen to us. Unless I'm talking, I think we want to be mute.
Well, good evening, and thank you for coming here today. It's hard to believe that we're almost at the end of July, so thank you all for coming and joining us. A lot of information to share today, and let me get us to our agenda. First of all, this meeting, I do have an agenda, I do have things to talk about, but it really is more about making sure we answer all your questions. And so while I do have the agenda, answering your questions is a priority. Due to the size of the group, we're going to keep everybody muted. That way there's not distractions in the background of dogs barking or anything like that. But if you have a question, you can go up into your toolbar and there's a chat room that you can go into and put a question. I'll stop throughout the presentation to answer questions, and then I will stay at the end as long as it takes to answer any questions that we have. Again, you can ask questions at any time. So if you have questions even right now, you're welcome to put them in the chat room. I may say that we'll get to that question in the presentation, or we may cover it as we come to it. But if you're anything like me, I sometimes forget my questions afterwards. So you're welcome to put those in the chat rooms at this time. And again, this is really not about what I want to cover, but making sure we answer all your questions, your concerns, and get everything out in the open so everybody can make a good decision about this upcoming school year. Here's the agenda. We're going to open up with prayer, as we should. Talk about the common good, the nature of this plan, current health orders, what is our design models. And then I have a list of specific topics that I'm going to go into. These are the ones that I have been getting a lot of questions from people about, but at the same point in time, there's probably areas that you want us to talk about, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions as best I can. And so this is our agenda of where we're looking at going for tonight. I am recording this session, but we have I have the video minimized on it, but please know that we are videotaping this so that I can put it up on YouTube and get it out to the rest of our community. There's many parents who couldn't be here for work obligations, travel obligations, different things like this. So we'll make this video available. And I did remember to push record today. So it is recording and we're going forward with that. So let us begin with prayer. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Heavenly Father, St. Pope John Paul II said, I plead with you, never give up hope, never doubt, never tire, and never become discouraged. Be not afraid. Heavenly Father, we ask you for the graces so that we cannot give up hope, that we can continue to work tirelessly for your good, and that we won't be discouraged and that we're not going to be afraid. Give us the graces we need. Help all those that are in despair, particularly help those that are out of work at this point in time. Help those that are struggling in any way health-wise. Bring graces to those that are suffering at this point. We ask you to give us strength, the wisdom we need. We ask all this through your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So one of the things that we start with prayer, but we also I want to start this presentation about the common good, and a lot of time and work and effort has gone into coming up with this plan. And as I've told some people already today, there are three pillars that we're really working off of to make sure that this is a good plan and we're ready to go. We want to make sure that we're as safe as possible. And we've looked at a lot of the research, we've looked at a lot of different pieces, and really believe that given the size of our school, the agility of our school, our ability to make the modifications we need to, that we can provide a safe environment here at the school for the kids and the families that opt to do that. So the first pillar is safety. The second pillar is education. What strategy can we implement that is going to give us the best education for our kids? Our kids need to learn, they need to socialize, and they need to be with other students. So what is that best way to do that? And then the third side of it is as a business, as an organization, what makes the most business sense? And so three pillars, I would actually argue that two of them are the strongest, that of safety and education, and then the third being the business side of it. In doing so, in coming together as a community, we must make sure that each of us are doing what we need to do. And part of what we're doing in putting this plan out there and saying we're going to re-enter is we need transparency on part of the school. We need transparency on part of the families. If someone is sick, we need that child to stay home. The principal is sick, we need the principal to stay home. And we need to each do our own good to make sure this works. And we need to be wearing our masks and doing everything we're asked to do. This plan, the premise of this plan is that it is grounded in the recommendations and in the science from various entities. Really relied on the American Pediatric Association for a lot of their recommendations, the mandates from our governor and mandates from the Archbishop. But this plan is designed to be adjusted as things change or as we get more information. And just to give you one very small example, right now we're planning on, for a couple different reasons, because we really can't do mass buddies, of our JK and kindergarten not attending mass, at least in the start. Over time, that may change. Over time, we're planning right now not using our lockers. It may become evident that we can open up the lockers and use them. And so this plan is really based on what we know right now. And as things get better, as we get more information, we can make the adjustments we need to. In doing that, we're going to strive to be as communicative and as transparent as possible in communicating with people. I have made and will make my cell phone number, my email address, my work address, all that very much available to everybody. And so as anything changes or any concerns arise, I would encourage everybody to reach out to me. I was talking to a parent earlier today, and they apologized for asking so many questions. And I said, I'd rather you do that than sit and not ask questions or sit back and complain. So please, please ask your questions and know that this plan is going to change over time. We, at this point, what expectations must we meet? Our school is governed as a business. So last week when the governor spoke, she spoke about public schools and charter schools. Our classification is we are a non-essential business, and at least as far as the health order goes. So we have to fall under 25% occupancy and the mask mandate. And let me talk about both of those, because while the government says that we have to be at the 25% occupancy and the mask mandate, the interpretation, our Archbishop and our diocese has said, we want to make sure that we're being as safe as possible, and we want to take the highest road possible for our kids. So while most organizations, many organizations are looking at 25% capacity as by the overall capacity of the facilities, yesterday the decision was made that as a school, we're going to do it by room and make sure that we have 25% capacity of that room. That impacts us dramatically, and a lot of work has gone in the last 24 hours since that decision was made to make sure that we can do this and make sure that we want to continue doing the on-campus learning. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. The mask mandate, public health order actually says that you just have to have your mouth and nose covered. And in a lot of cases, face shields are permitted. The diocese has asked and come to the conclusion that it's safest for us to have masks, true masks, and not use face shields. We will take accommodations that are needed for medical reasons, but at the same point in time, all kids need to be wearing masks, and I'll talk about masks a little bit later. And then the Archbishop's directives, which I think I've provided everybody a copy with in our remote reentry plan, those have to be followed. The CDC and the American Pediatric Association, that is guidance. Those are recommendations, and we certainly took those into account when we were working on everything. And so that's the guidance of what we must be working under. Looking at this 25% capacity and the decision about having that capacity by room, over the weekend I went through with a rolling measuring tape and measured every single room, every single hallway. And the fire marshal out last week gave me the measurements that if you take the overall dimension of the classroom, the dimension 1 times dimension 2, you come up with the square footage. You divide that by 20, that comes up with your overall occupancy. And then you look at that overall occupancy and whatever the expectation is right now. And our expectation is that we are at 25% capacity. To make sure that we are doing everything absolutely correctly, today the fire marshal visited us at my request, measured all the classrooms, and actually issued us certificates of occupancy for every room. And I was very proud of myself. I didn't think I was that great at mathematics, but he and I agreed on every calculation. So we do definitely know what our calculations are. However, if you look at this, for instance, the kindergarten classroom is limited to 10 students, actually 10 people at this point in time. And yet we have 14 kids and 2 adults. And so right now we are not able to have kindergarten class meet in that classroom. But at the same point in time, first grade has 10 kids in a capacity of 10. And so assuming that we only have 9 kids and 1 adult actually start the school year, we can have that capacity of that classroom and have class in there. This plays out in the conversations I've had to have over the last 24 hours, in that I met with the Parish Finance Council, I met with the School Consultative Council, and I met with the building leadership team. And I said, given this, we have a couple options, and we have to decide whether we want to continue moving forward with the on-campus entry, if we believe that is what is best for kids, best for our community. Do we want to do a hybrid, or do we want to do a remote entry plan? And overall, within all the groups, we've decided that the on-campus learning is where we really want to go. We really believe that we can do it safely and meet all 3 pillars of what we've been talking about. And so we are moving forward with a plan that says that we're going to do the on-campus learning for our kids with a remote entry possibility for any families that want that, and that we're going to be creative in our use of space. And so this is the plan that we are putting forward. at this time in the plan that has been decided to go forward with. And so let me talk about that at this time and help give some insight into the logic of it. So our primary delivery will be on campus, on school campus learning as per the reentry plan. We're going to open the school on campus, if I can say that right, with the option for parents to have limited remote learning option. And so we'll talk about what that is on the next slide. We will comply. I know there's been news reports of this private school or that private school saying, we're going to just do whatever we want to. We will comply with all health orders, and we will go beyond health orders. But in order to do that, we need to be very creative in our use of space between now and when businesses are allowed to open back up to 50%. What does that mean? That means that at this point, we're going to have to use every facility on the OLA campus in a very creative way to get them in place. So the model that we based, the question that was asked to me even today was, can we physically do this? And based on the number of kids we have enrolled today and our facilities and the measurements that I and the fire marshal have done, we can do it, but we're going to have to be creative. Is it a good solution? It's may not be a good solution. There might be weaknesses, but the better question that we have to ask is our best solution. Is this solution going to give us the best safety, best learning, and best business model for our school? And really believe it is. Having kids in the gym, is it a good model? No, but is it the best one we have? It is. And I really do believe that for 6 weeks period of time, 12 weeks period of time, whatever it takes for us to get back to that 20%, having our kids on campus in a safe way, we can deliver a quality education to our kids by having them here in school. Is this better than us having the kids here 1 or 2 days a week and then remote learning the other days? I really believe it is the case, and that we can have the classroom management, we can put the barriers in place to do it. The other piece with this model is that this is based on our number of kids today before we know how many families are going to opt into the remote learning campus. And so there are several classrooms, if we go back to it, that are really on the brink of not having to move out of their regular classroom and being able to stay in their regular classroom. So for instance, the 3rd grade is sitting at 12 kids right now. Their class capacity is 10. So if 3 kids opt into the remote learning model, then we're going to be able to keep the kids and not have to put that group into the library, which may open us up to put another group into the library, which is our biggest classroom. And so this is the plan moving forward. Again, on-campus reentry, quality instruction on a daily basis in the classroom with that remote learning option on a daily basis. So let me talk about that remote learning option. There were some decisions that were made by Father and the Finance Council even in the last day. First of all, this model is available and is something that the Archbishop has asked that all schools have some kind of model in place so that those that aren't ready to come back can have an option for Catholic schooling. The second piece people have asked us is there going to be a tuition reduction for the remote learning? The Finance Council looked at all the different options for it and decided that even while there's an additional cost for us incurring the remote learning, and the per pupil cost is the same or greater than the tuition, than the in-person, we will be doing a tuition discount for the limited remote learning in that because they're only receiving the core curriculum. Families opting into the remote learning will get a $200 discount per every 6-week session, up to $1,200, which would be 6 sessions, which would be the full year. So there will be a tuition discount for the remote learning of $200 a 6-week session. And then you can see there we've divided out the 6-week sessions. What will be provided is what people ask me. The teachers are still going to do a lot of work for this. And part of what I have to make sure is that we don't spread our students so thin that the teachers aren't able to be effective in either situation. So the teachers need to be able to teach in classroom, and then they need to be able to manage this on-site learning. What our teachers will provide is that as part of their standard lesson planning, they went through training this summer on how to use Google Classroom. All their lesson plans will be on Google Classroom for our in-classroom people and our out-of-classroom, our remote learning people, students. That way the student teacher is only doing one set of lesson plans. The teacher will then videotape any whole group lesson they are providing. That videotape will be uploaded and be available the following day. So the kids that are working on remote learning will work one day behind the in-class students. So whatever our kids do on Monday in school, the remote learning kids will be doing on Tuesday. The remote learning kids will be expected to be in the classroom every day. We will set up a way for them to take attendance in the Google Classroom, and they will be expected to be doing their learning and turning in their assignments and will receive grades. But it will be limited to the English, language arts, mathematics, religion, science, and social studies. So let me stop there. We're going to get into, and I have a couple questions already around what if test positive? What about a vaccine? Does the whole family have to stay home? Different pieces like that. But I'll answer, actually all those questions are going to be answered throughout. Are there questions about what is happening, what I've already covered, or any questions that people want to ask? Okay. I'll come back to questions, and everything that's been asked so far is part of our presentation. So let's talk about the what ifs. And one of the questions is, what do you do if someone tests positive for coronavirus? You're not going to like the answer. I don't like the answer, but it's the actual answer that we have to give, and it's the policy of the diocese, and it's the policy of the state. If someone tests positive, we need to notify the New Mexico Public Health Department and the New Mexico Labor Department, and then they tell us exactly what we are going to do. So this is not a whimsical, what does the school think we should do? We need to follow what New Mexico protocol is. And even listening to and watching the governor's press conference today, they had, I think it was the Department of Labor secretary on, and he talked about the rapid response teams. Those teams will be responding to our school if we have an outbreak. And so the scenario of what is happening if someone, I can tell you what I would suspect would happen if someone came up with positive with COVID, that we'd be sending that child home, quarantining them, and then looking at what people came in contact with them and having them in isolation as well. But the protocol that we need to follow is the first phone call is to the New Mexico Public Health Department, and then we notify the parents of the steps that we are directed to. And Juanita corrected me, and maybe the New Mexico Environment Department, and you're actually right, that's I think who was talking today. So I apologize, but we make the phone calls. They then tell us what we are going to do with it. If a child in a family is sick, does the whole family stay out? From a school perspective, if only one child is sick, that only child stays home. It's just that child. You as a parent, thinking of the whole common good, may say, this is something that I think is going to go through our family and we're all going to stay home. But from a perspective of the school, if only one child has a fever, that one child stays home. And that is how we've been asked to handle it. I'll talk about masks and PE afterwards. So we talked about remote learning, what ifs, before and after school care. Part of the reality of our school is that parents depend upon our school for childcare. Parents have to work. And so we do have the before and after school program in place. We are going to be looking at, once we get the surveys back from parents saying what they're going to do this year, we will then decide where we're going to finally place it. I would suspect those are still going to be placed in the gymnasium like we were originally planning, but we have to look at it from a containment point of view as well. And so we will have a before and after school program. Cleaning, We are taking a two-prong approach with the cleaning. We have contracted with a cleaning company to come in and sanitize. They will sanitize our building on Saturday, August 15th, before anybody comes into any students come into the building. In speaking to them, and I also consulted with my cousin who works in this area as his doctorate in toxicology from Johns Hopkins. Both were saying that clean it the one time, and then if we need to clean it, if we have any kind of suspicion that there's an outbreak, any positive cases, then we have the company come back and sanitize it again. So the sanitation company will be coming in August 15th. The other piece is we just hired an extra custodian. So in the past, we would clean the classrooms on the younger kids on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the upper grade kids on a Tuesday, Thursday. We are going to have the staffing now that we can clean and sanitize the classrooms on a daily basis. So teachers will have wipes in their classrooms. They'll be able to wipe down the classrooms throughout the day as need be. In the evening, the classrooms will be cleaned, vacuumed, and then they'll spray. The CDC on the Environmental Protection Agency has a bleach combination of a 1/3 cup of bleach to 1 gallon that can be used. You spray it onto the surfaces and then you let it sit and you don't touch it. And so we'll be sanitizing the surfaces at night. The other piece to talk about cleaning, and I'll talk about this at lunch as well, is that we have been able to purchase through a donation shields for every single desk. So plexiglass shields will be on every single desk. Those will be sanitized as well, and they'll also be on the lunchroom tables in addition. Let me just check questions real quick. Let me go to this one because we talked about the positive. It was asked if a vaccine is made available, will the school mandate it as part of the required vaccine? What the diocese is drawing up a policy on that right now. What they've told us the policy is going to be is coronavirus is going to be treated the same way we do every infectious disease, that there is that immunizations are required, but at the same point in time, families can opt out of the immunizations. But if there's an outbreak and a family opts out of the immunization, then they need to be secluded from the school. So whatever the policy is, the inclination right now is that if there is a vaccine, it will not be mandated, but it will be handled just like the chickenpox vaccine, polio, smallpox, whatever others may be required. One of the questions asked, and it's not covered here, if the guideline states that no one should be within 6 feet for more than 10 minutes, how is it possible? There are differing guidelines. The American Pediatric Association guidelines actually came out and said school students can be within 3 to 5 feet of each other if they're all facing the same direction and wearing masks. And so the American Pediatric Association, which their guidelines, I believe, were much more an approach with a developmental approach, did give that latitude and said they believe that is good, sound judgment. Question was asked, will the entire school be informed of the positive COVID test at the school or only the classroom that the child is in? Obviously not expecting to know the child's name. That will be, we will follow the recommendation of the health environment department, the health department, and how to handle that. I would assume that it would be a whole school notification. However, that is their call. So even to give you an example, right now the health department mandates that requires that we do not notify families if there's an outbreak of lice because of the research around lice. Whereas if there's a certain level of influenza going over a certain percentage, we need to notify the family community. So we will be following communication orders from the health department and the environment department. The question is asked, if there's a fever, does the child have to go home regardless? Yeah. The answer is yes. So the expectation and from everyone is if you're sick at all, we're asking people not to muscle their way through it. If you have a stomach virus, if you have any kind of illness, please just stay home for the day and then go from there. The fever, when we do our health checks at the doors, if there's a fever above 100 degrees, a child could be standing out in the sun and have a 99-degree temperature. The temperature that has been agreed upon based upon the guidance is that anyone with 100-degree temperature or more, when they have the health check, will be required to stay home for 24 hours until 24 hours after that that fever is gone. There's a difference. The question was asked if one student has any of the COVID-related symptoms, shouldn't all the siblings stay home? The answer and the guidance that we're getting is no. You can have a lot of different symptoms that aren't, you can have symptoms that are COVID-related but are related to others. So right now the guidance is, and we just had this issue with my son. My son thought he might have had a COVID. He stayed home through the testing period and found out that he was negative. But my family went on there. He stayed in the basement and family moved on. And that's what the health department told us to do. So right now it's only if any sibling that shows the symptoms is the one that stays home. Under 6 feet, you shouldn't share the common household or shouldn't be. So I'll read the question and then I'll tell you the answer is going to be, again, the health department. That is, somebody tests positive, the under 6 feet for 10 minutes. You shouldn't be sharing common households. So shouldn't that sibling be quarantined as well? My assumption is that anybody in the household, what we were told when my son took his test, that is if he tested positive, the entire household would be quarantined. So I would assume that was Colorado, but I would assume it would be the same case here. But again, we'd be calling, either notified by the health department, the environment department, or we'd be calling those departments, and then we would follow their guidance. If a child has severe asthma and might have hard breathing and a mask all day, those are the accommodations that we will make. And so we would need just a doctor's note. We would then work with the doctor, with the family to make the reasonable accommodations. And so we do have a staff member that needs to wear a face shield at times because of a heart issue, and the doctor's note, and the same thing will be with the students. The air conditioning and air system hasn't been upgraded, but it has been checked. The question was, has the air conditioning system been upgraded or in the gym in the school? The system has not been upgraded, but it has been checked to make sure that air is flowing and that air is flowing in and out properly. And then I'm going to get to there's a couple mask questions. So let me move on and I'll get to those questions as we get there. Cleaning lunch, especially because let's working under the assumption that we're going to have kids in the classroom, in the gymnasium for classes. The lunches, we are planning on having them outside whenever possible, and if necessary due to weather, in their classrooms. Put the picture of the young lady with the shield, because even if they're at the picnic table, we will have these shields up because you can't eat and have your mask on. So one of the things I was asking help on is we want to create a patio area with picnic tables so the kids can eat at a table. We really would appreciate any help from parents if they can help build it and donate a picnic table. There's very simple plans online, and we would need about 12 tables. So that's something, if parents are asking, how can you help? That is one way that we are asking for your help. We will be serving a hot lunch. Mona will be cooking. She'll be working with Canteen, the company that we contract with, to make sure that she's serving them and in a proper way. But we will have hot lunch served. We will not have microwaves available to the kids, at least initially. Kids can bring their own lunch, but we will not have microwaves initially, at least. Let's get to all the mask questions. They are required to wear masks. They are required to wear masks all the time unless they are more than 8 feet apart. So in PE, they do have to wear the masks. They can't wear face shields. But if they're doing jumping jacks and they're 10 feet apart from each other, the kids can take the masks off. The other piece that we as a staff have already talked about is giving kids mask breaks throughout the day. And so having the kids go outside, separate themselves at a good distance, and just taking 10 minutes to drink water, have the mask off, get some fresh air with it. I've seen the videos about the health issues around wearing masks. I've asked a couple medical doctors, and what they've said is we have not studied the mask issue well enough to be able to conclusively say if wearing a mask for an extended period of time is good or bad. The bottom line is we are being instructed and asked to wear masks. It's part of the health mandate, and getting out of the political fray of whether masks are good or bad. It is part of the health expectation and the mandate that we have at this point in time. So kids are going to be asked to wear masks. We are going to have additional brain breaks, exercise breaks, mask breaks, water breaks throughout the day. And the teachers will have to make those kind of judgments. So yes to the PE, yes to the extra breaks. Talked about the severe asthma. If that's the case, we'll get a doctor's note and we'll do an accommodation plan. Are masks going to be provided? And if so, can they be clear, or for students who have hard of hearing? Masks are not going to be provided to the kids. Masks are being provided to our staff. We are also on a case-by-case basis, as teachers need them, going to be providing health shields, face shields to the teachers. When you're teaching phonics, especially to the lower grades, the kids need to see your lip movement. And so during those lessons, this teacher will be more than 6 feet with 6 feet away, but they will take the mask off and wear a face shield so that students can see the movement of the child's mouth. If there's a particular accommodation for a child with a documented hearing issue, then that family can let me know and we can work on how we need to accommodate that. Are these the type, the question was asked about, are these the types of plexiglass that will be at the student's desk? The ones that were pictured are similar. They're not the exact model. I couldn't get the exact model to work, but they are very similar in the height and in that there are three-sided and the coverage area. There is AC, air conditioning in the portables buildings that the JK and the music room will be in. There's air conditioning in the lower building. In the barracks, what I call the barracks and what we call the upper building, there are swamp coolers, and all of those are working and functioning at this point in time to their fullest capacity. So we have them all working. The air is circulating in the proper way. The classrooms are hot. We'll get them going. If I need to keep them going all night long so that they're cold in the morning, we'll make sure that air is circulating to the best health of our kids. At the start of the school year, are remote learning kids going to be subject to the same, are assessed on the same way as the students in class? Yes. We are asking that all the kids on remote learning come and be assessed and come through the orientation just like the rest of the kids. There are a couple reasons why that's essential. One is we do want to get them assessed so we can see where they're at and help make sure we're making growth with them over the year. The second piece is those orientation days, that's where the kids on remote learning, they will actually get their tote of supplies, their tote of school supplies, classroom books, Chromebooks, all that is going to be provided to the students. And so if a student opts out for this first 6 weeks, they still are going to get the supplies that they need to be there. We're hoping that we can keep the kids up to speed, especially in the core areas. If they come back with some deficits, that's where the differentiation is going to come in place. We already have a huge gamut in our classroom learning, and the teachers are having to accommodate it. Ideally, I would love to have all the kids here so that we can make sure that they're all learning at the same pace. but I also respect the fact that parents need to make their own decisions. So we're going to do the best to accommodate it. We cannot offer, teachers cannot teach a full in-class classroom and a full online classroom. It is not realistic at all. Will there be OLA masks for sale? Yes, we have the masks. Some of you have seen them. They already are in the uniform store. There are adult sizes and kid sizes available to them. And so OLA ones will be for sale. I've had a parent ask if we can loosen up on the dress code side of things and not have them be a couple colors or a solid color. I'm going to look at that and talk to the building leadership team. My concern is making sure that we have a dress code for a reason, and we don't want the masks to become a distraction. But at the same point in time, and this is the reason why I said we'd have every Friday be a Spirit Day of Jean Day. This year is going to be hard. It's going to be hard on everybody. The start of the year is going to be difficult. There's going to be things that we need to do better. And so I am open to looking at the dress code around the masks, and we'll communicate that with all the families here in the next couple of days. We are putting a pause on new enrollment of new students so that we can make sure that we can keep under the 25% capacity. So right now we have no applications pending. And right now we are holding off on anything. And that's why we have a hard deadline of next Wednesday to make decisions. Out of fairness to the school, we need to know if parents are coming back so that we aren't overbuying, aren't overspending on all the resources that we are purchasing. It's stated in the dispatch, the question is, it's stated in the dispatch for remote learning that language arts, math, and either science or social studies will be taught. Do we have to choose between both? No, it's more so what is being taught in the classroom. So generally at the elementary level, they don't teach science and social studies every day. Teachers do it differently. Some do it 1 week science, 1 week social studies. Others alternate between it. Others do it by trimester. So I used the term when I wrote that science or social studies because it is dependent upon what the classroom teacher is going to do. If the pandemic continues over the year, if students opt for the remote learning for the entire school year, do they graduate from the school the same as the other students who attended class? Yes. We're considering them our students. The only thing they're missing, and I'm not diminishing the importance of them, the only thing that they're missing is the elective classes. We're going to continue to provide them the core instruction and really believe that they're going to have the education they need to graduate and to move on. On the opt for remote learning, why is science or social studies and not both? Exactly what I just talked about, generally at the elementary level, and it's different at this middle school. So at middle school, they will get both science and social studies. At the elementary school, generally because the English language arts is so demanding in time, and it's a lot of the science and social studies is also integrated into the English language arts, especially with our new reading series, that teachers only teach one, either science or social studies at any one time. How much are the masks? I don't remember. I want to say $5. I can get that answer for you. They're extremely reasonable. We're not making any money on it, just like all the other items in the store. Marianne Baca does an amazing job of getting to these things for us at price, and really sells them at price for our kids. And so I don't know if Marianne, I thought I saw Marianne come on. I don't know if she's still here. She might know the answer to that and can chime in the classroom, but I can find out the cost, but they're extremely reasonable and we're not making a profit on them. If the classroom, will they have their own area to store their backpacks and such? Teachers are going to work out the storage for them. They're going to have to store their tote and their backpacks and everything all in the same area. Really recommending to everyone to keep what they're bringing to school to a minimum. If you don't need a coat, don't bring a coat. If you need a coat, bring a coat. But if you don't bring it. Don't bring anything extra. Don't bring the big backpacks. Just bring what you need to bring. And a lot of the homework is going to be able to be done through Google Classroom as well. So some of that will minimize what, especially at the middle school, that the kids will need. So at the middle school, they will have, I thank you for your clarification, they will have both science and social studies. And Mary Ann chimed in, they won't be more than $5. So thank you, Mary Ann. In the classroom that will be shared, the gym, et cetera, how will the classrooms be divided? Right now, the design I have, and I'm looking at two different designs, one is better, the other is more economical, is that we're going to get PVC pipe, make 8-foot by 8-foot barriers, and then fill those barriers either with plywood, with a heavy black tarp, something that is in between them. The two things that we're trying to divide is we absolutely need to have a visual divider, and we need to have a divider that minimizes the noise. And so I need to talk, I know we have some engineers here in the classroom or in this Zoom. I need to get some more information as to, is the investment in plywood going to be that much more of a better barrier for noise reduction? Looking at an 8-foot by 4-foot barrier that goes across the room, is that much better than us just investing in a black tarp? And how much better is it economical for us? So if there's any engineers out there that can help me answer that question, I would greatly appreciate it. And I think I got all the questions. I'll go back through and I'll continue the presentation. But I don't think I missed anything. What is the threshold number of confirmed COVID students where the school will close and go into remote learning? And is that decision to close the school yours? That decision, both of those decisions are not mine. Both of those decisions will be made by the state of New Mexico, whatever entity should be overcharged of that. What is the threshold to confirm to close the school? That will be decided by the state, and it will not be my decision at all. And it won't be the superintendent's. So we talked about masks. I think we talked about that one a lot. Let me talk about the arrival and dismissal. Right now, we're scheduling 3 health entry points, 3 entry points and 3 exit points. We are going to evaluate those as in the first couple of weeks. If we need to open 5 to get people moving through them more quickly, we can. We have ordered, I think it might be this model, but they're sitting at the post office right now. We have ordered either 6 or 8 infrared non-touch thermometers. Those are reset at a 20-second pace. So you can take a thermometer and not touch anybody every 20 seconds. So what will happen in the morning, those who want to drop off by the car will come down Guamas and drop their child off. The child will come to the gate. So they will drop them off at the gate and then come in the entryway between the gym and the middle school there off the Guamas. They'll get the health entry screening. They'll get their temperature checked, ask if they have a cough, have any anything like that, and then they'll be allowed in. The other entry point, if you want to come in the parking lot, walk up with your child, you can do so and go through the main gate. Or JK families or any families that have any JK kids can drop them off over by the portables and have that entry there. And we purposely put the JK over in that room so that since parents aren't coming onto campus, they can see their child go right into the classroom. Dismissals will be the similar way. There will be pickup over at the JK. There will be pickup at off of the car line will be off of Guamas, and the personal pickup by person said that the personal pickup will be off of the traditional gate. Parents will come up, they'll have a sign that says the family name, what grades. We'll call on the radio and we'll get the kids from there. So that's the pickup and arrival. A couple questions came in. Said KOA Channel 7 State of PD will be looking into private school structure. What did that mean? I'm not sure. We have checked it in and out, and with multiple sources, PED has no jurisdiction over the private schools, and so PED really can't do it. We are characterized as a business. We are characterized as a non-essential business, and so those are the health mandates that we're following. The state made the decision to close schools until after Labor Day, but we're not following that. So referring back to the 3 threshold questions, what would the state have to say that would make our school back to remote learning only? The state, it wouldn't be about the state, it would be what does the science say? The science, in a lot of ways, overwhelmingly, the state referred to one study, and if I'm not incorrect about the Korean study that they're looking at that showed youth transmission, that study has not been peer reviewed at this point in time. And for a valid study, you really want to have a peer reviewed. Most of the studies out there are showing that youth are much safer than older people at coming into schools. We really believe that we are different than the public schools. We're smaller, we have less bureaucracy, and we're able to be able to adjust. And so what the governor would have to do is say that all businesses, non-essential businesses, have to close. If the governor said that non-essential businesses have to close, we would have to close. There would have to be compelling research out there showing that what we're doing is not good for kids. But I really believe, both as a principal and as a parent, that from an educational standpoint, and a developmental standpoint, there are a lot of dangers in our kids not coming back to school. And the medical dangers from COVID are so minimal of what peer-reviewed bulk of studies say that this is the right direction for us to go, and it's a direction our Archbishop has allowed us to go. Sandy, thank you. I'll pull that up. Let me go through the questions and I'll pull up a map and show you the areas for pickup. What if a majority of one class chooses remote learning? We'll then have to make the decision as to how we adjust so that with that remote learning, but we will have some better answers on next Wednesday after we know what families are doing, and we will make the adjustments necessary to make sure that we're serving all our kids in the best way possible. If a majority of class chooses remote learning, are we going to shut down the in-person learning? No, but we are committed to having in-person learning for those families that are choosing to do so. Michael, you're exactly right. We're not a charter or a public school. PED only has a jurisdiction over those. For a single parent, if there's another family willing to pick up the child, are you allowed to do so? Yes. Just let us know those procedures. We can either get you another extra card so that family can have them. The card allows us to, I know a lot of your cards, I know most of you. The card allows us to remain at a distance, and even if grandma's coming and doesn't usually come, they can hold up the card and we can keep at a social distance. Let me stop sharing the slides for a second, and I do want to talk about Catholic culture, but I'll stop sharing for a moment and I'll say hi to everybody. And give me a second to open up a map of the school. Go to its option 2. Okay, so this is an old map with names on it. So some of the names have changed. And I'll bring it up here in a second. So please ignore the names that are on there. Some of those have changed. Okay, I think you guys can see, can someone in the chat room tell me if you can see the map? All right, great. So people that want to come and drop their kids off in person will come and park in the parking lot up here. So Lomas is up here at the top of your screen. You'll park in this parking lot. You can bring your kids. We'll have cones or we'll have tape on the ground so people stay 6 feet apart. And you will enter through this gate right here that you're traditionally entering through with our code on it and all that kind of stuff. So that will be the gate that people will be entering through. that want to get out of their cars and walk their kids. And you can stand at a social distance and stand here at the gate if you want and watch your child get in and go from there. That's entry point number 1. Entry point number 2, and actually I was using the wrong name, I apologize. You'd come down Fruit Street. This will have cones here on the street to allow people to come within. You'll drop off right here, and then at this corner, right here where kids enter for the cafeteria and the gym, the flagpole is right here. You will enter, we'll have a health station there. That will be station number 2, and that's for the ones that want to pull up in the car, have their kids jump out, and go come into the school. If you do that, I am begging you, please, 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 please stay until you see your child get through the gate. Last thing we want to do is have a child there with a fever that we have to then call you back and tell you to come back around the corner and get your child back in the car. The third drop-off point is, this is the parish offices. Over here are the portables that are way out there. We have the greenhouse over in this area. This is our third entry point. And I believe we're going to have Miss Brito Duran stationed right here at this door, at this gate. JKers or anyone can enter through this gate. If you have a JK and a 3rd grader, they can enter through this gate, get their health screen. The JKer can come right up here in the room, and the 3rd grader can go right to their room. And so you don't have to have this situation of pulling your kids and dropping them off at 2 different locations. You're welcome to use any one of the screening areas. Would ask that our 6 JKers use this door. That way we can make sure those young 4-year-olds get into the gate and get in there properly. So that is the map and where they're at. We do have the capacity to open more gates if we need to. So if we needed to, we can open up a gate right here. If we're seeing a backlog, there's also a gate on the other side right next to Ms. Glazier's room. We can open up that gate and have another health screening. We can also open up these gates here in the staff parking lot. And so we have the capacity to open up more gates if we need to because of the flow. We'll give it a week or 2 for things to settle down, and then we'll be able to evaluate it. And yeah, Sandy, yes, it's one-way drop-off. So you can't come down Guaymas. I may be saying that wrong, so I apologize. It's the East Coaster in me. And you may be able to come down this way. You can't come down this way on Guaymas, coming around Fruit, and have your child run across the street. It is one-way drop-off. We'll have cones all along here. And then kind of like when we were having the pavement done on the parking lot, people will come down in front of the church, drop off, and then as soon as they get into this drop-off area, they'll be asked to get out of their car and go to the health screening. So it will be one way. Families that want to come from this way will have to go around and come west on Fruit Street to be able to drop off in their car. So let me go back. Questions about the map or anything like that before I close this up? Okay, I'm going to move on. I can always pull this back up if we need to. And let me just talk about Catholic culture. We are a Catholic school. I hope and I believe most of you send your kids to us because we're a Catholic school. And so we need to maintain the Catholic identity. But we need to be safe at the same point in time. And one of the things that I haven't talked about is in our plan, but I haven't talked about a lot, is that we're trying to keep kids separated within cohort groups. So for instance, 4th and 5th grade, we'll be going to lunch together. We'll be in the similar areas as hopefully as far as learning goes, and we'll be only mixing with 4th and 5th graders ideally, as much as possible. And so we want to keep that Catholic identity and keep the kids safe. So we were going to start a new tradition this year where we will record morning announcements and live stream them for the kids so that we as a community every morning will be praying together the same prayers as a community. Even though we might be spread out in 5 different areas, we will be saying morning prayer, our prayers of the morning. I don't want to confuse it with liturgy of the hours. We'll be saying our prayer, our beginning of the day prayer together as a community through live streaming. Friday devotion, we'll still do the same thing. We'll still have Friday devotion, but we will stream it through the school so that everybody's participating in it. We'll probably be able to put it up on Facebook or live stream it through Facebook so families will be able to take part in it as well. With regard to Mass, we will be, for Mass, we will be going to Mass first grade through 8th grade. We will not have Mass buddies, at least originally this year. That is something that we may be able to phase in. The Mass will be for 1st through 8th grade. It will be 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. And at some point, we hope to at least bring the kindergartners into that. So, do I anticipate media coverage on the first week of school and how we handle it? We are instructed as a school not to talk to the media. So actually on the PPP plans, the media contacted me about the fact that our parish applied for the PPP grant. My response to the media was, you need to call the superintendent's office and they handle all media. I'll twist that question a little bit. I expect us to be under a microscope as a school. And I say that in a positive way from our parents and from the general community. Our parents are going to want to make sure that we're doing things right. And unfortunately, I think some in our community are going to want to catch us doing things wrong. And so for that reason, that's why we need to be very careful about masks. Last thing I want to end up is on the governor's press conference, a picture of our school with our kids not wearing masks. We need to make sure that we're meeting the expectations and going beyond it and demonstrating the obedience to the law that we need to be giving. If you think back to the Gospels, Christ said, give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar. Archbishop Chaput, the former Archbishop of Denver, retired bishop, Archbishop of Philadelphia, wrote a book called Give unto Caesar, or some variation of it, and talks about that. We need to be obedient. We need to do the mandates that we're expected. And so we are going to be under a scrutiny. The day of orientation, is there a certain procedure that you like parents to follow? Yes. One of the things with the orientation day is please don't bring the entire extended family. We ask that it be the 2 parents and the kids here at the school. Keep it as a small group as possible. The second thing is when you get here, please wear a mask. And the third piece is we'll have it all set up so that we do social distancing. We'll have a welcome table. We'll probably have 2 tables together so that we're 6 feet apart. All we ask is that you cooperate and be patient with us. It will be a new process. We'll be doing everything as best we can. It may take longer than we expected. We're trying to spread it out over 3 days. So only other thing is I ask that we be patient. Can music and Spanish classes be supplemented with worksheet assignments or opt remote learning so that students do not fall too far behind? The music and Spanish and all the electives, you'll have access to their Google Classrooms as a remote learner as well. So given that the teachers are working with so many kids, we can't have them providing even the level of support that a classroom teacher has provided, but all teachers, elective teachers and non-elective teachers, will be using Google Classroom to do their lesson planning. I don't want to start rumors saying that our kids are going to be on their Chromebooks all day long and just doing Google Classroom. In the class, that's the lesson plan the teachers are going to be doing, and that's where the parents will be able to access the lessons of the teachers. So you'll be able to access the music teachers and the Spanish teachers' lessons and be able to keep up with it, but the support the teacher will be providing is minimal. Will Mass be streamed for those in a distance learning? I'm going to ask that of the father. Father has some legitimate theological concerns about videotaping and streaming Mass. As the pastor, that really is his call. I have it on the list to make the request. He does not want it to turn into a show. He wants to make sure that we're keeping the sanctity of the Mass in place, and some good theological sound reasons for that. So that is on my list of something to ask him. It hasn't been something that has been an urgency at this point. We've been dealing with the other issues in our conversations, but it's something I will address with him and it will be his decision. For middle school students, will students be allowed to stay in one room and have teachers rotate rather than have the students move class to class? That would increase the exposure. That is actually our plan. So part of the plan is the guidance is that we're to minimize the movement of the kids and minimize the exposure of one child to another. Hence the reason we're not doing the lockers where we'd have kids hanging out in the hallways, close proximity. The other piece is with the middle school and with the elective teachers, we will be starting the process the year with the middle school teachers moving and the students staying in one place. And so that is already the plan. Same thing with the elective teachers. The technology teacher, Ms. Size, will come to the classroom, wherever that classroom is, for the will come to the classroom for the class and teach the technology in the classroom. And given the investment that Father has made this year, we can have technology in every classroom. We do have one-to-one capability at this point. So we are using the teacher moves, students stay in place. At the same point in time, I cannot sit still for a long period of time. And so we will be putting movements in there for the kids. Can we consider adding the Spanish to the distance learning core curriculum? I'm very open to that, especially at the middle school. I don't know if middle school parents know this, but kids at the middle school are going to be getting Spanish every day this year. So we really want to get our kids in the middle school where they can leave our school proficient and not have to take Spanish 1 and possibly Spanish 2 at the high school. And so I'm very open to that, Kim, and I will write that down to make sure that I explore the feasibility. But I think, I do think we might be able to do that. Yes, parents will be allowed to attend Mass. Students that are on remote learning will be allowed to attend Mass with their parents. Those students can't come and sit with their classmates just for cross-contamination reason. If any parents want to come, it's Mass, it's open to our general parish. So anybody is welcome to come and join us. At orientation, will assessment areas be sanitized? Yes. So I'm creating, one of the things I got to do either this weekend or next weekend is I'm going to get buckets, bottle spray, and wipe. We already have the wipes, and we're going to set up cleaning stations that will be in every classroom. One of the aspects will be, excuse me, let me admit someone. One of the aspects will be a student will sit at the sanitation the assessment, get the assessment test, and then we will spray it down with bleach, allow it to sit there for a couple minutes, and then bring the next child in. If we should have the space on the assessment day where we don't even have to use that area for another good half an hour. We'll try to keep as many of those spaces open, but just like with lunch, we will be spraying down, and you can go to the CDC website and you can look up the chemicals it takes you that they recommend. There's all different kinds of chemicals, but one of the things they do say is good is 1 gallon of bleach to 1/3 cup of water, 1/3 cup of bleach to 1 gallon of water combination. Lockers are not being removed from the hallway, but I had the pleasure yesterday of going through and zip tying every single one of them. So every single locker right now has a zip tie on it that makes it impossible for it to open, and will make it very noticeable to us if someone does take a knife or a pair of scissors to it for those lockers to be open. So they are closed off at this point in time and unable to be used. We aren't removed, they're bolted into the walls, so we aren't removing them, but we are going to keep them shut at this point. All right. That is the end of my PowerPoint. I think I answered every question. I will scroll through here quickly, but if I missed a question, if you could repost it. We talked about what if somebody tests positive. We talked about a vaccine. We talked about if one student out of a family, wearing of masks, mask breaks. We talked about one child versus the whole family. We talked about the health department, 6 feet, 10 feet. Asthma, air conditionings. We have that. Phil has a company coming in to look at and make sure that they're all working properly. They were working properly a month ago. Masks again, plexiglass. We've talked about AC. I think we got them all that were there. Let me go to the end. The chat. 5 additional at the end. What is the procedure for purchasing uniform? Went out today in the dispatch. If you didn't receive it, please, and I'll put it into the chat. Here is my cell phone number. Here is my email. If you did not, get a dispatch today, please let me know. We've updated Sycamore and all that. Please text me, email me, call me, and let me know. In there, we outline that we will have the uniform store opening starting on Monday of next week. There is hours. I think it's 8 to 10 on Monday, Wednesday, 10 to 12 or something like that. And with Thursday, 4:30 to 5 to 6:30. So there's hours outlined. You need to reserve when you want to come and go to the store. It's kind of like going to get my haircut. I have to reserve it ahead of time. You have to reserve when you want to come to the uniform store. And there was a Sign Up Genius that was set up for that to do it. The uniform store will also be open on the days of the orientation. So you'll be able to look at those as well. So let me go back and make sure I'm getting all these questions. Lockers. Can you get me more details on the plexiglass? I have, they won't be bolted to the desk. We will be securing them to the desks to make sure that they just don't fall off regularly and become a distraction in the classroom. Once they come in, I'll be looking at them. The person I worked with on purchasing them talked about whether they should be, we can duct tape them to the desk. We can use Velcro to put them to the desk, but they will be secured to the desk in one way or another. We just won't be ruining the desk by putting bolts in them. They are 3-dimensional and they will cover the range of the child. If the child looks around them, they won't cover them, but they will do it. The other thing I like about it at lunch, you can put them on the lunch. We'll have enough. Kids won't have to carry them from one classroom to another. We ordered, I want to say 250, 230, something like that, so that we have them in all the classrooms. And then we also have them on the picnic tables or the tables where the kids are eating lunch. And so they'll be there with them. If you want more information, I can email you the vendor that we went through. My only concern is all the schools across the country are ordering them. They said they guaranteed them by the end of August. They may not be here by the end of August. They do think they'll be here by August 17th. People are on the Sign Up Genius because I'm getting notices. I talked about the uniform. If you need more information about the uniform, please let me know, but we'll have the uniform store open. I'll be happy to talk to Sean about Spanish. It really is something I think is important for our kids, and we'll give them a good leg up in the high school. Sign Up Jesus says the time of 10 a.m. Will students go directly to that or the assessment first? The Sign Up Geniuses are not for the assessment days, and if I put the assessment dates, it's wrong and I need to go back. The assessment dates, we have no sign up for it. It will be just on a first come, first served basis. The sign up dates are for the 2 weeks prior to the assessment dates. So I'll go back and make sure I did that properly. I've been doing a lot today. This is my 4th Zoom call today with staff, leadership teams and things. So I built those in between. So I apologize if I made an error. I'll go back and check it. Lunch, our primary location, especially, I do need some help. I don't have my tools here to do it. Otherwise, I'd really enjoy doing it. We do need about 10 to 12 tables made. It's fairly easy with a saw and 2x4s, and the diagrams are there. Ideally, what we want to have is 12 picnic tables out in the flag area and in the patio or the area out by the tree, and kids can sit at those areas. We will be having them in the classroom if there's extreme wind that day, hailstorm, anything like that. Right now, question was, how's the middle school set up? And the names are not correct. So right now, if everything stands on the worst case plan of, worst case is the wrong way to put it, because I would love it if every child came to on-campus learning. But assuming that we have to use creativity, we will have the 6th grade out here at the parish office in the Merriweather building. And then we'll have the 7th grade in the vestibule, 7th and 8th grade in the vestibule of the church, which is on the far side, right off of, I want to say, Tennessee side of the parish. We'll be over in that area. If we are able to have the sizes where we can have them in the classrooms, it's the same setup as in the past. We have the English class with Miss Shoemate. This is actually Miss Kurth, and this is Miss Glazier, and the kids would be in here. And again, the kids would be staying put, the teachers would be rotating around. For their middle school electives, we are doing the elective wheel, and at the orientation day, they'll be able to choose their electives for the year. They all have to take one of each course, but within the courses, they'll be offering a little bit of difference so that the students can feel and truly have some differences of ideas. And so for the electives, they will go to the classrooms with it, but they'll be self-contained in this building. You can see from this diagram, we really have 4 self-contained units if we are able to use our spaces in their entirety. The middle school will be contained in the upper building. For kindergarten through 3rd grade will be in this building. 4th and 5th grade will be contained here. And then the JK will be out on this side here. So let me get back to the chat. Talked about that. So assessment days are not on the same. Assessment and orientation are the same day. And I apologize if I'm not talking, if I'm not being clear. 17th and 18th, Monday and Tuesday, are the assessment days from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Both the orientation and the assessments will be done together. Essentially, this is where what will happen. You'll sign up for a time. Let's say your time is 1 o'clock. You'll come at 1 o'clock. You'll be greeted at a welcome table. If you ordered a yearbook, you'll be given from last year. You'll be given the yearbook. You'll be given a map of the school, and you'll be go to your classroom teacher. These orientation days are important because after this, you probably won't get to see the teacher in person or see the classroom. So we want you to see the classroom space. You'll go and meet with the classroom teacher, 5-10 minutes, meet the teacher, see the classroom, all that kind of thing. And then you'll take your child to wherever they're going to have their assessment. You'll drop them off there. As a parent, you'll come and meet with Lisa. She'll make sure that we have your phone numbers right. We'll go through a couple forms that we need you to sign that are new since you did your registration. We'll make sure that you have access to Google Classroom so that you can be seeing what's going on. And then you'll come and have the unfortunate part of meeting with me. I want to make sure that we're clear on expectations. I want to answer your questions. So every 30 minutes, I'll be doing a new presentation in the library with up to 5 families. And then you'll be able to go get your totes if you're going to do remote learning, and you'll be able to go to the uniform store. The assessments should take about an hour and a half per child. So if you're done early, you can go get a Starbucks coffee, or you can wait around for your child, and we'll let you know when your child's done with their assessment. Here's the key benefit of us doing those assessments, and we were planning on doing those assessments ahead of time as it was. On Friday, we're going to not have school, so we have assessment day orientation on Monday, Tuesday, class on Wednesday, Thursday. It was important to me that we don't have school on Friday, and here's the reason. It's not because I need a vacation. We need kind of like if you open up a restaurant, you do a dry run for a little bit to see how it goes. I want to have 2 days under our belts, and then our staff can make adjustments of what's not working. And so we'll be off on Friday, and we'll be making adjustments. The other thing we're going to be doing is looking at all the assessment data. And if your child's in 6th grade and needs 7th grade math, we'll look at the data, and we'll be able to make that adjustment. And then within the first couple of days of school, in reading all across the board, in math, in the particularly in the upper grades, we're going to be making instructional adjustments to make sure we're meeting your child's needs from where they're at. And it is that Friday, Wednesday, the 19th is the first day for all students, JK through 8th grade. So I hope I explained the orientation well. If I didn't, please call me and let me know. Remote learning does not have an elective. So it really is those core pieces. Emergency exits for the fire emergencies or emergency evacuation will be the normal. I've done the drawings and I don't see that we have to change anything even if we do occupy the gym. I'm working with the company to order them, have ordered them. And actually it's something I got to follow up on. I had the conversations, but I dropped it. So we'll be making sure the t-shirts are ordered and get them in here as soon as possible. They may not be here for the 17th, but it is on my list to do. Students start wearing their uniforms on that Wednesday. So uniforms will be there Wednesday. We won't have school on that first Friday, but the first Friday that we have school will be a school spirit day, and every Friday will be a school spirit day for the students. Wanted to see how can we relieve tension as best as possible. So we'll have that going on. Can we stay remote learning the whole year? Yes. And the tuition model that we talked about gives that discount throughout the whole entire year. And so you can do it throughout the whole time. So other questions, or are there any questions I missed? You guys are wonderful. I love working with this group, the community. Okay, I think we're in good shape. I'll stick around for a couple minutes if there's any more questions. So we'll stick around if there's any other questions. I thank you. Again, if you can help us at all with the picnic tables, help him build those barriers. We have a lot to get done in the next 2 weeks, and those are things that parents can help us out with if you're available and have that skill. So thanks a lot, and you guys have a good day.